ఓం శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. అందరికీ నమస్కారం. In this video, let us examine what is the life of a seeker in ashram or monastery, and how he completes his life circle. Let us examine. See, first let us discuss about the truth. You see, we come across many self-contradictory statements regarding truth. Because the truth is paradoxical. It is like this. For people living in India, it is daytime, and for people living in USA, it is night time. So, when some of them talk to each other over phone, they say that they are in the respective times at different places and all that. And what they say is only truth. But for any third person, it becomes a puzzle for him, because these people living in India say it is daytime, and those people living in America say it is night time. So which is true? So because this kind of confusion may arise unless you are aware of the truth in those statements. Both are speaking only truth, and the truth is paradoxical, because truth contains the whole. The whole means contradictions are also contained in the whole. Positive and negative, day and night, birth and death, winter and summer, etc. are all included in the whole. So, the whole contains all the contradictions also. But in truth, truth contains the whole, and whole contains all the opposites. But when it comes only to truth, in that whole truth, the opposites are not opposites. Day and night, but in truth they are not opposites. So the opposites or the contradictions, they become complementaries, not contradictions, because a day 24 hours, it contains the whole day, means 24 hours, and it contains day and night. So truth is paradoxical, and it contains the whole, and the whole contains all opposites or contradictions, and contradictions are not contradictions, but in truth they are complementaries. Now, for a seer, not a thinker, there is a difference between a thinker and seer. Seer is a visionary, he could see. So, to a seer who has achieved the ultimate peak of meditation, that is samadhi, for him the polarities are joined together into one existence. For him, there is no separation in creation. He could see that organic unity in the creation and existence. So, for such a person and for such an enlightened being, the truth is whole. He could see it. He could not and cannot afford to see any division in the creation or existence. So, such enlightened persons are called the sages or masters. in the creation. So, ashram and the life of a disciple in the ashram. Let us examine. Ashram means a communion which happens between a disciple and master in an ashram. The ashram is the presence of a master where the disciple joins the master. So, it is a Sanskrit word ashram, but when it is translated into English language, it is called monastery. But monastery defines that he who resides in the monastery is a renunciant and is against the world. But it is not so. The original word ashram means it is a place where the commune happens between a master and a disciple. Ashram means a place of learning. Learning of what? Learning, a process of learning which enables a disciple how to live in the world. So it is a place, it's a learning place where the disciple learns from the master as to how to live in the world. It is learning the art of living in the world. It is not against the world. It is, in fact, an embracement of the world with joy. So, that is ashram. It is a Gurukul. Gurukul means a place where the master lives with his family. His family, the master's family, is his disciples. So, the disciple learns from the master the art of living and the beauty of life. In the presence of the master, he learns for the first time and he tastes for the first time the taste of divinity, the taste of God. So, in the earlier ages, sages, knowers, and people of wisdom have decided that in the whole circle of 100 years of life, the first 25 years should be spent in an ashram. So, the first stage in the life circle of 25 years, the child, after he attains the age of 5 years, he will be required, and in fact he is sent to an ashram or Gurukul. And in ashram, the disciple, that boy, spends his first stage of life up to 25 years with the master. He lives with the master, in the presence of the master, and he learns from the master, and he learns from the master various arts, especially the art or the technique of testing the divinity. See, the first 25 years, it is full of age of innocence. It's a life of innocence. It's a life of purity. It's a life of divinity. It's a life of adventurism. It's a life of aliveness for the child. So, in that purity of innocence, when he stays with a master, with an enlightened master, with an awakened master, he develops an intimacy with the divine. He dives deep into that light, eternal light, the infinite light, and tastes the experience of divine. So, he spends his life for the first 25 years in the ashram, and in the process learns the art of living, the art of loving life given by God. So, in that period, when he tastes that which is beyond, that is God or divinity, it directly touches his inner core of being, his center of being, and once he touches that peak of consciousness and sees the light of that infinite wisdom that is there in his being, inside it is a flame of consciousness which burns always. So, because when he doesn't go through this kind of learning and divine experience, he may be disturbed in the life ahead, because after 25 years of his spending in the Gurukul or in the Ashram, he will be entering into a householder's domina. So in that dominion, in the householder's dominion, he has to live in the world. So if he doesn't have that divine experience and taste of God in the first stage of 25 years, the life experiences may turn him corrupt, because the ways of the world are different. Ambition, violence, all that. So he may not be able to handle them with wisdom. So that is why the first stage of spending his life in ashram, the elders have made it a must to enable him to learn the art of living and dwell in the world with joy and wisdom. So, in this second stage of a householder or gruhastha, he gets married, he begets children, he is in the process of making wealth, etc. So in all this sphere of life, he has a center in his being. He has a consciousness full of awareness at the center of his being, which guides him in all the living experiences and leads him to lead a life of joy and bliss and peace in all the turmoils of life of a householder or gruhastha. Not only that, he remembers often what he tasted, the taste of God, the glimpses of divinity which he had in the presence of the master or enlightened and awakened soul. And he always tries to achieve and realize that state again and again. And that's how he spends his second stage of life as a householder or gruhastha in contemplation of the divine and completes that life joyfully. And the third stage, when he attains 50 years, his children starts coming from the ashram. So in the next 25 years, he gets his children married, and step by step, slowly, he will hand over all the wealth, etc. He will pass on to the children and help the children to stabilize in their life. So, the first stage where he has spent in the presence of a master, that stage, that study was like a university. The period which he has spent in the presence of the master, it's a real university of learning. So, and the householders, the second stage of life as a householder is a testing point for him to implement, to lead a virtuous life in the light of the taste of the God and wisdom of the divine, which he has tasted earlier. So, in the when the grandchildren start coming from the ashram at the age of 75, then he will go back to the ashram from where he has come before the beginning of life of a householder, and then goes back again to the same place to in his own light, because even the absence of the master in the second stage of life has not affected him much, as he could carry that inner light of consciousness which he has acquired when he was with the master in the first 25 years. So he could stand on his own and dwell in the consciousness of the divine against all turmoils in the world when he was a householder. So, with that maturity, he will become a master in his own right, and then after completion of 75 years, he will go back to the ashram as a master. So then it becomes a full circle of life. So when he goes back finally to the ashram with no attachments of any kind, and starts dwelling on the divine, on the infinite, then he helps the youngsters to learn the art of living and loving the divinity and creation. So that is the life of a true religious person. That is the life of a true seeker. Thank you.